We have just been having the most wonderful time having LaTasha Barnes and the Jazz Continuum here, all her amazing colleagues, dancers, musicians, extraordinary. Everyone absolutely loved the open rehearsal, and the work in process performance was just to die. I mean, it was a moment of extraordinary creativity and expression, and I would just like to say, when your residency here ends, which we'll be sorry to see you go, may your joyful energy continue into your brilliant future. It's just going to be an extraordinary continuing round of, yes, it's so, did I say that? Sorry, continuum. And we would like to thank our sponsors for the Jazz Continuum being here. First of all, the funding that we received from Sarah Throne, who is such a wonderful person and supporter, and the treasurer of the SHS Foundation. We thank you so much for everything that you've done. And also the Sag Harbor Partnership, and the deep and enduring and most appreciated support of Guildhall of East Hampton. And yes. And all of the people that make their wonderful programs so vibrant, like Anthony Madonna and Joe Brondo, who's here with us tonight. So without further ado, I'd just like to welcome Andrea to come up and say a few words.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Grover. I'm the executive director of Guildhall in East Hampton. And we are thrilled to be working with the church and also to have this conversation tonight. This is part of a new collaboration between Guildhall, the church, and Guggenheim Works in Process. And it's a way for artists to come and be in residence, to develop new works, and to share them with the public. The Behind the Works series, which was created by Mary Jane Marcassiano, is a way for us to have the privilege, here she is. It's a way for us to have the privilege of seeing how an artist thinks, how collaborations happen, and takes the mystery out of what an artist residency is. Very different than a medical residency. A lot more fun, I would say. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about Mary Jane Marcassiano. She's the founder, as I said, of this series, Behind the Works. The first of the iteration of this was with Angelique Kidjo, and that was last year. She is a director and playwright and was developing a work that we were able to present on Zoom and started this conversation series. So Mary Jane is the costume director for the Jazz Continuum, as well as a film programmer, producer, social entrepreneur, and nonprofit leader. She serves as director of strategic partnerships to Cinema Tropical, and that is a nonprofit promoting Latin American cinema. And she's the director of development to Impact Repertory Theater, a program for under-resourced youth in Harlem. So she's a busy lady, and I understand today she had to tackle a bit of a challenge with costumes not arriving in London, in Amsterdam for Angelique Kidjo's performance tonight. But she figured it all out, and she's here, and she looks great, and it's gonna be a great evening. So the conversation will run approximately 60 minutes, and that's including a Q&A. So I encourage you to think about what you'd like to know. And I'm gonna turn it over to Mary Jane. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andrea. I want to thank my collaborators at Guildhall, Joe Brondo, Patrick Dawson, and Anthony Madonna, and at the church, Cece Weaver, Tom Brokish, and Talina Mascali for making everything happen. So instead of reading LaTasha's extensive and impressive CV, I'm going to show a video profile that the Today Show did this year on LaTasha. It'll tell you a lot.
And Today we want you to meet an innovative, award-winning dancer and choreographer named LaTasha Barnes.
Inspired by her great-grandmother's love of jazz music and dance, LaTasha is bringing the past and the present together and moving her art form into the future. Take a look. According to LaTasha Barnes, it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
When I'm dancing, I feel the music, I feel the space.
And she's keeping jazz dance alive with what she calls the Jazz Continuum.
I honestly feel my elders, my ancestors, all of that comes through in an instant.
She's creative, she's innovative with it. It's like seeing past, present, and future.
It's life. You see life when she dances.
Growing up in a multi-generational home in Virginia, she credits her great-grandmother with introducing her to the Lindy Hop.
She just picked me up and started moving me around, and she called it the swing. She just said, this is our fast dancing, that's how we did it. The Lindy Hop itself is the partnered expression of jazz dance, an African-American social dance, noted to have started in Harlem in the 1920s. Within the Lindy Hop also are many, many individual jazz dance styles. Dances like the Charleston, the Breakaway, Texas Tommy.
Joining the military after high school, she rose the ranks and became a telecom and communication security specialist at the White House for the Obama administration.
It was pretty amazing being a part of their White House experience.
But it wasn't until a car accident in 2004 and the dance therapy that followed that LaTasha started thinking about dance as a career.
The focus on the muscle extension and contraction like really gave me back my dexterity. And yeah, that started the journey.
A journey that led her to studying house and hip-hop dance, eventually winning competitions. But she felt a desire to learn more.
It really was the passing or the transitioning of my great-grandmother that really pushed me to learning more about jazz. You know, she mentioned that she went up to New York to go dance at a fancy ballroom with some of her friends, the Savoy or something. It's like the Savoy Ballroom. Great-grandma, that's where you went.
Known as the world's finest ballroom, the Savoy was a legendary Harlem dance hall that showcased some of the greatest jazz musicians of their time. Dancers from the Savoy were featured in films like Hell's a Poppin', which featured the Lindy Hop.
Reconnecting with the Lindy Hop just led to this synergy with Bobby White, who was an international level instructor in Lindy Hop.
We would spend hours and hours playing around with steps and dancing.
It was through the course of that commitment that, you know, I went to the International Lindy Hop Championships.
And from there, a scholarship brought LaTasha to an unlikely place to further her studies.
In the woods of Sweden, in a place called Herräng, which is still so confounding to me that I needed to go to Sweden to get this immersive experience in this inherently Black dance. Seeing how many international celebrants there were of this tradition and culture really had me in a disjointed and discombobulated place. I felt like a guest in my own culture. And it was weird because if it had not been for what we understand now to be appropriation in some respects, that space would not have existed for me to even go and have that immersive experience. So I was really happy to be proven wrong in some of the biases that I carried because of how they were wanting to uphold the dance, not just the art forms that they could make a profit from. That wasn't their focus. Because it's happening in the hip-hop and house dance worlds also, and all of Black dance forms, honestly. I fully recognize that there had to be another way to talk about this. That's where cultural surrogacy came from for me.
Yes, the Lindy Hop is for everyone. Always acknowledge and respect where it comes from.
And in that same spirit, the dance aims to move forward in that way, to be a collective space for everyone to come to a place of understanding and celebration together.
And by moving the Lindy Hop forward, its elders have put their trust in LaTasha. Elders like Harlem historian Lana Turner.
This incredible dance started right here.
I know.
I am calling you the tradition bearer. You actually have the ear and the minds of young people. You are able to bridge a number of forms of dance, as did the Lindy Hoppers at its time.
As the assistant professor of dance at Arizona State University, LaTasha now teaches a new generation of dancers.
I'm so honored to be able to work with the youth there and to be a part of their journeys.
You can learn dance anywhere nowadays. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and you can research the history.
This is connected to this step, which is connected to this music, which is connected to this community, which is connected to this step that preceded it, and so on and so forth.
LaTasha's mission of connecting dance and history continues through her work with the Black Lindy Hoppers Fund and the Jazz Continuum.
Dance is in very good hands, especially with LaTasha Barnes.
Having first experienced this in my own family with my great-grandmother, I know that she's intensely proud. I hope that all of my ancestors continue to be proud of the work that I'm doing in their name and in the name of our future ancestors.
Go, LaTasha, go!
She incredible.
Amazing. Dance is just a small piece of how.
You see why I had to show that. So now I'd like to introduce the artists who were joining LaTasha during the residency and today on our panel and in the audience. So I'd like to start to my left. You saw her dancing a little bit on that video. Dr. Marie NDI is a jazz dance choreographer, performer, educator, and dance researcher. She specializes in African American vernacular jazz in its partnered form, focusing on the legacy of Harlem dancers from the Savoy Ballroom, as well as the chorus line tradition from nightclubs and theaters. Marie has applied her scientific method and dance education to conduct an embodied practice-based research of jazz dance through the study of original video clips and collaborations. Marie has a PhD in, I can't even say it, neuroimmunology, and is currently pursuing her master's degree in the anthropology of dance and ethnochoreography. Another triple threat. And to my right is Tara Newborn, who was born in Memphis and raised in Atlanta. Taryn's love for jazz music and social dancing led her from traditional ballroom styles to salsa and mambo, which eventually brought her to the Lindy Hop world. She served the community as a vocalist and band leader of the Tara Newborn and the Real Deal Band, while also participating in major events such as the International Lindy Hop Championship and the Beantown Lindy Hop Camp. When not leading her own band, Taryn has been featured in countless other ensembles, such as the Glenn Miller Orchestra and the Macon Pops Orchestra. And to my far right is Leandre Douglas. He is a nationally accomplished dancer, choreographer, and teacher from Houston, Texas, with over a decade of professional dance experience. Leandre has performed, choreographed, opened, and been a part of the creative process of many artists. Tamar Davis, Pitbull, Omarion, shows you what, sorry. B.O.B., Pat Benatar, the Bare Naked Ladies, LL Cool J, Kid and Play, Big Daddy Kane, the Sugar Hill Gang, and many, many more. His mission is to preserve and innovate Black culture within the body through dance education classes, performances, and social events. And in the hot red dress over there is a born and bred New Yorker. Reina Nunez is a versatile movement artist who has immersed herself in New York City street dance culture for the last 10 years. Reina has trained under Danielle Polanco, Ejo Wilson, Michelle Bird McPhee, Sibo Carr, and LaTasha Barnes, studying tap house, authentic jazz, Vogue femme, and locking. Nunez has brought her talents to the industry stage, working with artists such as Janet Jackson, Lizzo, and Louis Vega. She appears as a featured dancer in the Jazz Continuum and the film In the Heights. Keyboardist Idris was born in Detroit and musically raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Before moving to New York to study at the New School of Jazz, he performed with prominent talents in and around Louisville and New York, like RMR, Ella Hale, Sofia Valdez, and Linda Diaz. He is now ready to expand his career internationally and hopes to change lives with the power of his music. And DJ, last but not least, DJ Ogun is an artist with a multitude of talents, ranging from DJ and producer to pianist, songwriter, and composer. Raised in Atlanta, Georgia, he further developed his love for the arts while studying music at Bard College in New York. Since graduating, he has been making waves in the New York scene, performing in places like the Bowery Electric, Cafe Erzuli, New Blue, and That House Party, though.
Yeah, that house party though.
So welcome. So LaTasha and the artists that you just met have been here in residency at the church for now almost 2 weeks. Just a little background on the Jazz Continuum. It was commissioned by Works in Process at the Guggenheim and supported by a Works in Process residency at the Catskill Mountain Foundation in May 2021. It had its premiere in the Rotunda of the Guggenheim Museum. And here's a clip from that performance. So LaTasha, I'd like you to
Wow.
I'd like you to share with us the origins and the process and the journey of the Jazz Continuum project, please.
I'm sorry, I need a minute. Wow. I know we talked about it having been a year, but just the compression of the the Today Show feature, and then you introducing everyone here, and wow. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back, and I'm back. As simply put as I can be, it really was me making more space to play. I noticed some intersections in my own exploration of jazz, and I wanted to make sense of it in movement and in time and space, and in a way that other people could celebrate and experience it with me. And in doing so, of course, you feel everybody enjoy the thing and celebrate the thing and vibe with you and take some moments of things that they recognize, and that just confirmed that there has to be more people out there who understand this thing and get this thing in some way, shape, or form similar to, or maybe exactly how I do. And it was actually in 2016 that I did my first performance that was a presentation of this confluence of rhythms and space and genres and ways of being when I was in the Bay Area, and at my good friend Cody's event, the Bay Area House Dance Festival. And
Was this before NYU?
yeah, this was before NYU. These are all the things that's poured into NYU.
Right.
And it really was just a very telling moment that, like, oh, as long as you really want to hold true to the truth of something for you and share that with others, that it'll make space for others to stand in their truth with you and to make that thing even more real. And in doing that, it just led me to recognizing that there was just an absence of other Black dancers who felt like they could take that space. And so that is what led me to going to NYU to pursue my master's in ethnochoreology, where I met you. And and also, it was a triple master's, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. It was in Black Studies, Performance Studies, and ethnochoreology. And using that to try to find ways to, at the time I was saying codify, but it really wasn't codifying. It was to develop a structure that was recognizable, presentable to people outside of my crazy, so they could have points of it to latch onto that could make sense for different programs or different ways of being that they wanted to amplify or present in their spaces. And it really, long story short, had many opportunities to like tap into other aspects of it performatively, academically, socially. The research itself was designed as a transformative experience or experiment. And as I was out in the field doing my field work and recording conversations and asking people, you know, what they felt was missing, like where they thought Black people were with Black dance, it literally sparked something in people and made them want to show up more. And so it was changing the landscape that had actually called me to question it in the first place. And I was like, but wait, if you change the thing, then people won't see what I was seeing. But that's kind of the point, is I don't want it to be what I saw. I wanted it to be something else, something fuller. And that led to a conversation with my beautiful friend Caleb Teicher, and being a part of the development of their work, Swing Out, put me in the space with Duke Dang at Works in Process. Duke Dang! And when the pandemic hit, Duke offered space to artists who had been a part of other experiences that Works in Process had presented. And he asked if I had anything cooking. And I was like, always. So many ideas about so many things. And yeah, when he offered the residency, well, first, all the things evolved into 2 residencies, actually. One was for my beautiful friend Michelle Berg-McPhee and myself with Ladies of Hip Hop, and the exploration of what we put forward as the intergenerational transference of knowledge, which basically just means a bunch of people from a bunch of different age groups and a bunch of different experiences getting together and sharing what they do and how they love what they do. And also the Jazz Continuum. And it honestly was just 5-year-old Tasha's biggest dream fulfilled, to have somebody want to support me having a space to play with my friends and to get more friends to play with and do these things, and to see the way that they think about this and the offshoots that could come from this. It's like a new Marvel. It's the assemblage of the Avengers, and there's going to be all of these feature films that come off of this project from all of these monsters and giants that do such extraordinary things. I'm just excited to be a part of it. It's yeah.
So the first workshop was the Works in Process, and then the performance, and then you brought the project up to Jacob's Pillow.
Yeah.
Here we are. And,
in the course of the discussion, the development of the Works in Process showing, actually, my wonderful friend Melanie George, shouts out to the trifecta, reached out and said that Jacob's Pillow was interested in what I might have going on as well. And I was, at the time, thinking through another aspect of jazz that I wanted to bring more attention to, but it just, something about this collection of badass individuals, like, and artists, just really begged to be fostered further. So we just did it again and amplified it. And oh yeah, we got our elders involved again. That was the beautiful part about the Works in Process residency as well. We zoomed in Miss Mickey Davidson to get everybody together and on the same accord. And we worked with her again for this presentation. And my dance mom, Miss Barbara Billups, as well. to bring some new force to it. But yeah, you have a clip.
Yeah, let's see.
Looking at all of this just reminds me of how much collective work goes into this project. Like it's that song was crafted by Jeff Bradshaw, who is an iconic music producer, and it's so amazing. But he is a good friend of my production manager and one of the amazing dancers of the Jazz Continuum and executive director of Ladies of Hip Hop, Michelle Berg-McPhee. And it really was one of those horrible, like, challenging things that could upend you. There's like all the costume challenges that have been happening with your new project right now. I wanted to be ahead of the game. So when I knew we were doing Jacob's Pillow and they gave us the music rights form in January, I reached out to all of the record labels that we had used songs for in the May presentation of the work in process. And they all waited until the week before to basically try to hold the work hostage, saying for 5 different songs, yeah, if you send us $5,000, $10,000, $7,000, you can use this minute and 30 seconds of this song. It's like, that's insane. Artists, like, it's insane, just, yeah. But beautifully, he consented to crafting a song specifically for the work, as did Javon, and I can't remember his last name right now, Javon, who's a friend of the musical director, John Thomas, who's sadly no longer with the project, but you know, the remnants of his musical genius are all over this thing. And his friend as well created another song to close. We bookended the work with the sounds of New Orleans because that soundscape was what brought me first in my body to an exploration of the traditional exploration of jazz, of hip hop, of house, and then of the New Jack Swing generation that kind of vacillates between all of them. So yeah, it was so much. And everyone continued to give so much. It was just, the show I think was supposed to be 45 minutes and ended up clocking at like 63, 64 minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
And later we'll talk about the costume challenges that presented. But,
yes.
Yeah. So this is a photograph from a few days ago upstairs in the church with the latest embodiment of the Jazz Continuum. So LaTasha said to me that, you know, the artist that she chose to have with her here, each one of you embodies your own personal dance and music journeys, investigating the relationships within jazz and Lindy Hop. And you all share the imaginations of its different applications. So I'd now like to invite some of the panelists to speak on the collaborative process and particularly the residency workshop process, because it's such a great, I mean, obviously a piece like the Jazz Continuum depends on that process. So I'm going to start with you, Taryn. So you're part of the musical collaboration in this workshop, along with Idris on keyboards and DJ Ogun. As a vocalist, as a jazz vocalist, I'm always very curious about how you're doing improv in this situation with dance. What it's like. By the way, I've really seen you count time this week. Like, you are just seems to be like the the queen of counting time.
I can't help it. Everywhere I go, I feel it, because I'm also a dancer in choreography in musical theater, and you know, I used to compete in Latin ballroom, so dance is in there. So I can't help but count the time. And I'm not an institutionally trained dancer like my compatriots here, but it's just been something that's always in me. And so as far as improvisation, I was stretched. I was, like I said, a musical theater. We go by scripts, we go by sheet music, but it really helped to have my two brothers over there, and I was just listening to them. And the thing is, once I let go, once I stopped trying to hold on to things that I could make up, or the fact that I didn't have a script or sheet music, it was just really easy to draw from not only what they were playing, but what they were doing. You know, but yes, I was absolutely stretched for improvisation.
It sounded great.
Thank you.
And Marie, I wanted to ask you, for me, you embody the international aspect of the Lindy Hop today. You are so international. And I would like you to speak a little bit about that aspect of this art form.
Okay.
And your career.
And the residency experience.
And the residency. So my journey in Lindy Hop is international. I started learning this dance in Montreal, Canada. And then, because I was doing my bachelor and master's there, then I moved back to France. I was dancing in France for a little while. Didn't really like it. And then I got a position for a PhD in Sweden, which is what we made before, but that's really where we clicked when you came over. So I was not in the woods, I was in Stockholm, but I would go to the woods every summer. And I was choreographing some shows there every summer for this dance camp. And also afterwards traveling for learning, traveling for teaching, and all of this. And yeah, I've been to Australia, China, Africa, America, doing this dance. And everywhere it's fascinating how similar and different it is. The rhythms are the same, the music is the same, but the interpretation of both is different. And you get to play with that. It's flavored by the country. It's flavored by the people. I always joke when you're teaching a workshop, especially in the woods of Sweden, in Herräng, and you're there 10 minutes early, like to prepare, plug your things, and then you know the first people to show up to class are going to be from Switzerland and Germany. They will be there before you. Then, on time, is going to be the Swedes and Norwegian. They are going to be on time, so I'm finished. Then, 5 minutes after will come the Latin people. So the French and the Italians are going to show up 5-10 minutes later. Half an hour into the class, Spanish is coming. Hey, do you want a coffee? So everybody practice it with their own timing. That's what I can say about international and Lindy Hop. I don't know if I answered the question.
Well, it was definitely enjoyable. Leandre, is this participation in this particular workshop, have you been involved with the Lindy Hop before that, or was this more a deeper investigation into the Lindy Hop?
Thank you for asking that question, Benjamin. Yes, this is my first true exploration. Like, I've dibbled and dabbled and seen some things and picked things up along the way, certainly, just because of the proximity I am to certain people that do it. And it's like, hey, that's a cool step. What is that? And my thirst for finding the root of things and where I fit in it. So, yes, but as far as an actual study and going in depth, as far as this is what it is, this is the feel, this is the intention, this is the purpose of it outside of performing it, this is the first time I've actually done it. And not because I didn't have the opportunity to, excuse me, there were certainly opportunities for me to learn it. I just didn't care for the aesthetics of the teachers that were presenting it to me, and I just felt like they didn't come from where I came from, so it would just be contrived for me to try to learn from them. So I just didn't have a desire to learn from those particular teachers. So yeah, Tasha fit my aesthetic and fit my values and how I understand the music. She knew where I was coming from as far as my background in dance and performance quality, etc. So it was an easier ask and a greater opportunity for me to follow and be malleable to someone that I can trust is going to give me the information the way that I need to receive it.
And that kind of dovetails with what LaTasha told me about, we were speaking the other day at lunch, that bringing in dancers like Raina and like Leandre, who didn't have necessarily the background in jazz, has been, well, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's well, the primary focus is to continue bridging the gaps and bridging the space. So it's not just this singularity of me as an all-knowing entity, which is not a thing, teaching my compatriots or colleagues in the street and club dance scene jazz, or going into the jazz side and teaching them street and club dance culture, like contemporary street and club dance culture, because if we're being honest, Lindy Hop and jazz is street and club dance, but you know, that's a whole other conversation. But it's really, for me, about literally bridging those communities. So curating amongst my friends, like who would get along, who would maybe, you know, nudge at somebody to get them to work a little bit harder, who might nudge at someone to get them to be a little more open to another way of thinking, not just about the dance, but about themselves, because we know that dance is all just, you know, lived experiences set to music. But it really was about bringing artists who I know are capable, again, of standing in their truth in what they know to be true of themselves and their artistry. And so bringing them, people who have that established confidence together, and then allowing them to share with each other. And that's not getting into too much of the proprietary nature of the residency as we organize it, but giving them space to do a skill share and to do a feedback portion, and the things that, you know, people get annoyed with my process, but, you know, the things that I need to continue to make sure that everybody is getting what I need them to have in order to collectively come together and put a show forward, to give an offering back to the continuum. Honestly, that's what the performances are. And having people that I know that I can say, yeah, this thing, and they're like, bet, all right. And then also having jazz dancers and Lindy Hoppers who I can also say, and this thing, and then have them do them at the same time, even though they might think it's crazy. It really, that is what the continuum is all about, like getting other people to see this juxtaposition and then giving them a space to feel how those things align with each other and giving them the opportunity to create something new in that. So yeah, me being able to trust them as well, like that's, yeah.
So it's a big part of your process is doing that.
Leandre looks like he has something else to say.
I have a question based on what you said, because you said me being able to trust them. How do you know what you're looking at that you can trust before it's actually in front of you? Like what are the signatures or the things that you look at and be like, I can trust this person or this thing with this thing?
Yeah. The main thing, and I know where you're going with this, the main thing is I first and foremost put my trust in the music. And I was taught very early, and it was reiterated quite often by many of my dance teachers, that a dancer's job and our privilege is to help people see the music. So if what I was recognizing in the music that I trusted to take me to that place or to expand my mindset about a thing, if I could not see that on another person, flowing through another person, that's not someone that I can trust with this project. And some people may be hurt by that, but if so, that just means you need to get your skills up.
By the way, tell the audience what you call your, you don't call them collaborators. What do you
Yeah,
call
I don't really call these folks collaborators. I call them co-conspirators. Co-conspirators in presenting and manifesting joy, co-conspirators in amplifying everything that Black American music and dance can be. Yeah.
Also, with the Get Your Skills Up, I'll tell y'all a quick story. I had Tasha do a program with me during the pandemic where she taught via Zoom, and we paid dancers to take class so they could find a way to earn money and also learn a skill. At the end of this program, I was talking, I was like, yeah, you know, we should dance together. And she, through the camera, even it was all like scribbly and kind of messed up. She was like, get your skills up. But I have to go. I have another meeting. But yeah, get your skills up. We'll talk. I was like, all right, for sure. I'm gonna take this little two-step that you showed me, and I'm gonna work it on out when I see you next time. Hopefully you have.
Do the thing.
Hopefully it's something better. But no, she's serious. Get your skills up. She looked me dead in the face. Get your skills up first.
Yeah, she can slice you up with love.
Yeah.
She can just
Yeah.
eviscerate you.
It was cold,
and
Jack.
love you at
And
the
she
same
got
time.
and she got right off the Zoom. I got another meeting. Click.
Obviously, though, you made the cut.
Yes, hopefully.
LaTasha, can I talk about how I came to be on this project?
Sure. Please.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 4 o'clock, May 31st.
4 o'clock in the morning.
May 31st. We're sitting in a bar having Prosecco. We had just finished, I'm on staff for ILHC, which she is one of the co-owners of and co-directors. And so we're just wrapping up. And I said, hey, if there's ever anything that you think I would be great at participating, and just let me know. And before I could finish, she said, what are you doing June 5th through the 17th? I looked at my watch, looked at my calendar, I said, what are we doing? Where are we going? And that's, yeah. I was able to get home, pack and do laundry, and hop back on a plane to New York.
But yeah, it's not just meant to be a challenge or a rub. Anybody who knows me knows, like, I don't do anything without being able to back it up. So it's not just, get your skills up because you're lacking. It's get your skills up. I'm trying to have more people to play with. Like, people keep saying that they want to do more in the world. They want their ideas seen. They want to be recognized. They want to be valued. First of all, if that's your reason for doing something, you might want to check that. But those who do have something that they artistically want to contribute to the fabric of this amazing Black American experience that has shaped all the world's music, dance, and everything else. Like, yeah, you need to be ready for the things that you say you're ready for. So don't just be upset that it's not you. Make sure that it can be you and that you're in a position to participate in whoever is the you right now, because it won't always be the same person. So just make sure that you're ready to step in and be a part so that what you want to say can be shared also. But in order to do that, you gotta get your skills up.
Well, fortunately, my skill set was
all the way up.
Was ready.
All the way up
for you. So as a co-conspirator, I'm going to ask myself a question. I just want to say that this residency, it's been a real luxury for me as a costume designer, because having these 2 weeks to watch all of you, not just how you dance, but your personal style, is having a huge impact on the costumes that we're going to be developing going forward. So I want to show a couple of slides.
Oh, yay!
Oh, yeah, so I had fun sketching. LaTasha, Leandre, and Raina.
I love that you drew my hair. You drew everyone's hair, but this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hair's,
Hair is important. Hair's a part of the costume.
Here's the thing. In addition to, actually watching the, when I saw the Today piece on LaTasha, and I saw some of the historical photos, it was really inspiring me, because when we were at Jacob's Pillow, the costumes that we had designed for, we had to deal with extreme outdoor heat And so I wanted everybody to be comfortable and, but I feel like we want to really up our game for the Joyce in the fall. And I'm thinking, like old school glamour meets modern shapes. So I was inspired by the styles of Frankie Manning and Norma Miller. And I was inspired by the personal styles, like Leandre's suspenders.
Hey, how you doing? Yes.
And Raina's jumpsuit. Yeah. And so anyway, LaTasha, we're having lunch, and I proposed that we do some jewel tone colors in satiny fabrics. And I said, why don't we walk over to Sag Harbor Variety and see what they have? And there was Roseanne, and we picked, look at these fabulous fabrics that I found in Sag Harbor.
So fantastic.
So we were able to put together our palette and play around with some ideas, and so yeah, that's what I want to say about the costume.
This costume is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be amazing.
So, LaTasha, so I wanted you to explain to the audience a little bit the difference between the workshop, residence, project, and then the performance, the show, and how you see that separating, and which venues you do what.
Any venue, we do all the things. That's a shout out to anyone looking for hosting space for dancers. Just because it's a performance for proscenium doesn't mean it can't function in a rec center. We just need space and time to do the things. That's all we need. And the money, yeah. Because we still got to get there and do the things and then sustain ourselves afterwards. Yeah, that part. What was your question? I'm just joking. I'm joking. Okay. The Jazz Continuum project itself was that bit of backstory that I started with in the beginning. Honestly, trying to find a way to, I don't want to say, and again, like I moved away from codifying because it's not a set immersion of things for every person. It's different for everybody. But to find time and space just to be human and to experience the things and to see what generates, and then to build from that to get people more into a personal relationship with jazz, with hip hop, with house, with whacking, not just these codified routines. There are touch points, as I call them, so it's not necessarily repertoire because it doesn't look exactly the same with each group that it's presented with. But just to honestly, like the project itself is really just to get people to a place of confidence with the thing that's othered in them when they come. So like my street and club dance dancers who do house and hip hop and all that stuff too, the jazz may be a little daunting. For my jazz dance family, the hip hop things might seem a little aggressive or a little accosting. And so to see like, all right, oh, day one, you ready to rock? Let's go. Okay, all the things, let's get it. Day one, okay, so we'll stick in the jazz bag for a while and lean into some house. No, not yet. Okay, all right. But to actually have time to see the human development across, so not just this, we got 5 days to get it all in, we're gonna make it work. But to really have time to build this collective, to build this Avengers troop.
What was the biggest outcome of this particular residency? What would you like? What was the big learning? Aha moments in the piece.
There's so many. Oh my gosh.
Or you guys can.
Yeah, y'all can chime in.
Chirp in on that. Your aha moment.
Question is the aha moment of this?
Of this residency, yeah.
Yeah, I have one, but for me, it has very little to do with what was presented on stage and more to do with the social community aspect of it. Like that was a more aha moment, just like no matter where we're from, whether it's Sweden or France or New York or whatever, we all have signifiers that we all identify with, no matter where we're from. And to share in that and just to live in that and have these little nuanced jokes that seemingly have nothing to do with anything, but everything to do with it's something you have to be attached to the culture to actually understand, is something that was just like, aha, like, no, really, everybody understands this, that is cut from this particular fabric. And that for me was my like aha moment. And then just knowing that everyone can love Southern cooking and all these dietary restrictions go out the door when Southern food is brought up. So
I was born in Memphis, and I can attest to that.
Yeah.
For an aha moment for me, you know, I feel like it was flipped on me. I also teach voice, and so I always tell my students, when they're going to sing something, you don't necessarily have to put on your singer, you know, attitude. You don't have to, it's essentially just talking, you know, and just talking with notes. And so for me with this experience, I don't have to, I didn't feel like I had to put on something. To just be and to play was, and the greatest creativity comes from that. I had shared with them that throughout the pandemic, like it's been a while since I've been in a creative space. I've been in performative spaces. That to me is easier. But when you're in a creative space, you feel this pressure to get something, get it right, make sure the product is great. But I found out that when you're playing, it's the greatest creativity comes from letting go and just playing, especially with people that, you know, I am completely obsessed with these wonderful people. I love you too. That whole experience, I'm going to take it home and live with it forever, just to play and be okay with that, you know.
So usually I'm in Europe on the other side of the pond, and I'm seeing all these people having fun and doing stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And then I get a text message from Tasha. It's like, what you doing in June? I'm like, I'm in the US. Good. And I didn't know, I had no idea what to expect. She was like, Residency. I was like, I don't know what it is. Cool, I'm coming anyway, it's you. It's gonna be dope. And what I was not expecting was how being an outsider-ish, an outsider coming from Europe, I'm French, like I'm also Caribbean and Senegalese, so I have another Black cultural background, and to just come home in the church, it was just like, all right, I'm home. Like, and there were moments where they were like talking, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but this is fun. And I just nod along. I'm like, yeah, what is this? I did not know this. But it didn't really matter because it was the spirit. It was familiar. And when we danced, even though I'm primarily a jazz dancer, and sometimes I get a little bit cuckoo bananas if you put Caribbean music, it just felt like, yeah, no, I cannot do this. Maybe I will look a little bit funny, but I understand this, and I can join in this, and oh, this is cool. Can I do it? Oh, it's okay. And it was this exchange and the humanity of the exchange that really, like, I'm gonna take that home on the other side of the pond, looking at the fun happening. Till next time, my friends. But I will keep that forever. It was a unique moment, and yeah, I feel centered in myself as a human being.
Also the curation, like when Tasha was talking about how she assembles people, right? Based on the people that I know from the videos and the people that are here, there's a performance quality that we all have. We've all been performing and on a high level our whole life. So that wasn't the focus on we have to perform. The focus was on us connecting, on us experimenting, exploring what this means to us and how we interact with it. Not so much the performance, because when the lights cut on even though we were back there when we were doing this performance, when we were backstage, everybody was on. Like everybody, there's just a certain look in the eyes, a certain attitude, a certain way you move before things are happening. It's like, oh, they perform. No, they know how to perform. Performing isn't the issue. It's the other things. It's the things that that take with us for us, because performances are typically for the audience. This was more so for us.
And this is also why that language is so critical, because we do know that people understand performances, they understand show personship. But that's also why I'm aiming to use that language specifically. It's an offering, because we are aiming to get something for ourselves from this, but we all know that when this collective stew is happening, you don't get the collective stew without giving something to it. And in and of itself, it's a part of a bigger collection. So this is our offering collectively, performatively, to the continuum from which we continue to draw so much. And we've been in this space and have been able to come together and feed and fuel and galvanize each other. And that's what the music does, that's what the dance does. And now we get to see that alive a little bit more in each of us physically.